What's up, guys? It's Ian here, back with another question and answer video. So before I get to these questions, make sure you like the video and subscribe, and drop me more of your questions in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer them in the next edition of my question and answer video series. Alright, the first question for today. The asker is asking me, how do you determine daily training intensity? So, with most new trainees, I'll start them off with a linear progression as they learn the technique, generally trying to linearly increase their intensity or increase the weight lifted while maintaining a consistent technique within an acceptable range. And gradually over time, if you find that they're unable to continue the linear progression while maintaining consistent technique, then we'll throw in more assistance exercises to bring up the weaker muscle groups. Generally, when we see technique breakdown, it's somewhat more rooted in biomechanics, but when we see technique breakdown, it's often as the result of a limiting muscle group. So if you have a weaker muscle group, that may cause your technique to break down in a certain manner, and by assigning assistance exercises to strengthen those weaker muscle groups or variations of a main lift, you can hope to extend the period of time which somebody can drag out their linear progression and make the fastest progress possible while maintaining consistent technique. Once you've really tapped out your ability to linearly progress just through refinements to technique and assistance exercises alone, at that point, then we'll start to bring in more of a RPE-based plan. So something with rate of perceived exertion. You may want to have a rate of perceived exertion somewhere between 7 and 8 on an average exertion level. Maybe 6 to 8. 6 is getting kind of easy. 9 is getting kind of too difficult for all of your training days to include sets with a RPE of 9. So your average training intensity, once you leave the linear progression phase behind, is going to be probably between 7 and 8. I've found myself in the past, when I've performed linear progressions, towards the end, it kind of always feels like all of your sets are at an RPE of 9 or 10, and if you want to make linear progress at a certain point, it's just all of your sets will be at an RPE of 9 or 10, and you have to ask yourself, how long is that sustainable? Different individuals can sustain that for longer than others, so use a bit of nuance when selecting your intensity there. Hopefully that answered that question, and let's move on to the next one. This individual is asking me, why is physical activity beneficial? So I'll just list off some of the main overarching reasons. Aerobic exercise is beneficial. It can increase nitric oxide production, which improves blood vessel health. It can also increase your VO2 max, which will improve your ability to do work and not get tired, thus making your day-to-day life easier. And then the main ways that resistance training is beneficial to your health is that it can increase your bone mineral density, which reduces your risk of fracture and injury from falls and car crashes, bike crashes, things like that. And it also improves your amount of muscle mass, which helps you burn more calories on a daily basis, allowing you to eat more food without gaining weight. And another reason is it can have beneficial effects on hormone regulation. Hopefully those were some good enough reasons. It can reduce your disease risk overall, improve your ability to assimilate nutrients. So those are just a few reasons, by no means an exhaustive list. If you want even more reasons, drop a comment below, and I'll go more into depth on that question. So this next question, can exercise improve your research ability or your ability to study? Some studies have found that aerobic exercise can increase the size of the hippocampus, which is responsible for some types of memory and some types of learning. It's uncertain if resistance training has the same effect, although there's not such a sharp delineation between resistance training and aerobic training. Even resistance training does increase your heart rate, although the proposed mechanism for the aerobic benefits of training are mostly due to increased blood flow and essentially improved blood flow to certain regions of the brain and improved quality of the blood vessels involved. Hopefully that enlightened you as to certain reasons why exercise can improve your ability to study, or why you should be exercising if you're a student. Alright, moving on. Do I recommend exercises based on body type? Well, yes and no. I typically recommend exercises based on somebody's goals. So if they want to get into powerlifting, or at least they want to keep that option open, I'm going to have them focus more on the main 3 power lifts, as well as reasonable accessory lifts that I would normally pair with those or see have reasonable carryover to those lifts, while avoiding excessively overtraining only those 3 lifts. I think diversifying your exercise selection can be beneficial there. So I like to pay attention to diversifying exercise selection. So past that, a person's goals, if somebody just wants to be a bodybuilder or general fitness, focus on just generally increasing muscle mass and staying healthy, there's a lot of different exercises you can choose. If they prefer machines, or if they prefer dumbbells or barbells, I don't really care. It's more about figuring out what form or modality of training is going to lead to the best adherence for that individual, and that's going to be how I determine exercise selection and essentially what platform that they're using. So whether it's body weight, external load, or some type of machine or cable pulley system, even bands, I think any of those are going to be fine. I think external load free weights or machines or pulleys, they're going to be the easiest to progressively overload over time. With your body weight, you're going to be more achieving progressive overload through more difficult variations, or applying load to your own body, or just increasing your volume of training. In terms of recommending exercise based on body type, I typically don't. I did mention in the last video, if I have a more obese individual that I'm training, I will, if the modalities are accessible, I will tend to skew their training more towards external load as opposed to body weight exercises, just because I feel like it promotes adherence through a greater feeling of self-efficacy, and that's going to be one of the main goals in exercise selection, really determining what exercises I choose. So one of my main considerations is what do they enjoy and what could they see themselves doing long term, and then the other consideration is what do I think would make them feel more competent and more likely to continue training long term. So hopefully some of these answers were helpful. I'm sorry about the sprinklers going on in the background. I made it halfway through the video and then they started, so I'm just gonna keep it. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you leave me some questions down below. I see a lot of people are viewing these videos without leaving more questions. Luckily, I am getting some questions in my direct messages, and thank you to all of you, especially who are leaving me questions. You're the ones who are really helping me keep this video series going, so I don't have to start making up questions. And I don't want to have to make up questions, you know. Yeah, so anyways, leave me some questions, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.